program, and we are so excited that you are joining us today as we get to meet Farmer Betsy and, of course, your adorable calves, Gal and Wrecking Ball. First, this live chat is part of the Adopt a Cow program. More than 40,000 teachers and 1 million students every year join the fun for free, thanks to our generous supporters like Maine Dairy and Nutrition Council and the Dairy Excellence Foundation. The Adopt a Cow and Discover Dairy programs are free online resources that cover Common Core standards in math, reading, and science, all while using dairy concepts to teach those lessons. The resources can be found at discoverdairy.com. We'd also love for you to join the Adopt a Cow fun next year. So if you're interested in joining again or new to the program and want to join the fun, enrollment reopens on May 1st. So this Wednesday, you can go to discoverdairy.com/adopt and either log in and re-enroll or go to that landing page, create an account, and get started. Next, as everyone continues to join us live today, you'll see that chat feature is enabled. I can see many of you are joining us today. Thank you so much for your patience as we had a little bit of a delayed start, but we are so excited to have you all today. Please go ahead and feel free to use that chat. Go ahead and comment, ask questions. We're really excited to hear from you. We do just ask that you keep those questions and comments related to our chat and school appropriate. We are really excited to hear your questions, and I know Farmer Betsy is excited to answer them. Now, before we jump over to Farmer Betsy, let's see who is joining us today. So we have, right in the very beginning, we had some folks from Milford, Maine, who is excited to meet their farmer and calf. So hello and welcome all. We're excited to have you. We've got some folks from Ashland, Maine, Wiscasset, Maine, who adopted Gal. Hello and welcome. We've got, let's see, some folks from Warren. We've got more, lots of love for Wrecking Ball, so lots of love for both of our calves here. We've got some folks from Standish. We have Miss Possard's class from Lewiston, Maine. Hello and good morning, all. We've got some folks from Bangor. We've got some folks from Hancock, Sabatis. Let's see, scrolling down here a little bit further, Mrs. Wood's third grade class from Drygo. Hello and welcome. We've got some fifth graders from Jonesport who adopted Wrecking Ball. And let's try one or two more down here. We've got a first grade class from Lewiston, Maine. And let's see, we've got Miss J's fourth grade class in Waldoboro and many, many more that are joining us today. So thank you so much all for joining us. We're really excited to have you. You know where that chat feature is now, so go ahead and ask your questions throughout our time here with Farmer Betsy. And speaking of her, I am pleased to introduce you to Farmer Betsy. Hey, Farmer Betsy, how are you doing today?
Great, Brittany. It's great to be here. It looks almost like spring. The grass is starting to green up and the sun's shining. So what more could you ask for on a Monday?
Right? We are so I'm glad to hear you guys have great weather because it looks beautiful behind you and that helps make it for a great chat today. So it's really exciting to see you and I know we're excited to see our calves. I will let you introduce yourself and talk a little bit about your farm before we jump into our calf update.
Great. So as you all know me as Farmer Betsy, the rest of my family calls me Mom or Hey You. We're really fortunate to farm in the same spot as 9 previous generations have farmed here in Turner, Maine. So my husband Bill and I are the 10th generation to operate a farm here on Upper Street in Turner, where we farm with my parents, Steve and Mary, my sister Vivian, and our 2 children, Sydney and Will. Keep our adventures exciting all the time. We milk approximately 500 cows, so we have more than 500 mature animals, and we have almost 500 younger, including adolescents, as it seems some days. Wow. And as you get to know Gal and Wrecking Ball a little bit better today, you'll learn that adolescent is probably a really good word to describe them.
Wow, so you have 500 milking cows and probably another 500 young stock. So you have pretty much 1,000 cows on your farm that you guys manage and take care of. That sounds like a lot of work to do, Farmer Betsy.
Well, you know, it keeps life interesting. Boredom's not really an option usually.
I love that. And it sounds like it's a great family affair. And I believe you said, was it 9 generations, 10 generations? How many generations did you say?
Yeah, so my husband Bill and I are the 10th generation to farm here continuously.
That's amazing. I love that family heritage, and we're so thankful you were willing to share that with us through the Adopt a Cow program and of course through our adorable calves. So I will let you go ahead and give us an introduction to our beautiful ladies and see how they're doing. Let us know, how big are they? How much are they weighing? What are they eating? I'll let you give us all the details on them.
So in our initial lead up to this morning, both Gal and Wrecking Ball have been clearly very active because they've exhausted themselves. If we look in the picture, 4766, that's Gal,
Mhm.
and we if you notice, their hair looks all nice and soft. So they just got a haircut and a series of baths in the last couple of weeks, both Gal and Wrecking Ball. So they're all spiffed up for our visit today. And
Oh,
when we measured Gal almost a month ago, she was more than 53 inches tall. So she's
wow.
she's she's tall.
Wow. I was
And
gonna say,
I'm
because
I'm not a tall person as it turns out. So it seems like she's getting pretty tall. And Wrecking Ball is
yeah.
approximately the same height as well.
Wow, that's amazing. I cannot believe how big they've gotten. So I know in her 6 month update it was 51 inches. So you're saying Gal is probably 53 inches now,
Yeah.
which is incredible. And then so do you think Wrecking Ball is about the same height, about 53 inches, 54
Yes.
inches? Yeah.
Yep.
And
They're approximately the same.
yeah, and I know their weight 6 months ago was about 515 pounds. Any idea on how much you think they weigh right about now?
I'm sure they're north of 600. They are on kind of a special pet diet. So yeah, I would say 600-ish.
Oh my goodness. Wow. I cannot believe how big they've gotten. So anyone that has that growing growth chart in their classroom, you're welcome to go ahead and chart that. So we're estimating about 53, 54 inches tall and about 600 or maybe a little bit more than that pounds at 7.5 to 8 months old. They've grown so much. Now, Farmer Betsy, what did you do as a farmer to help them grow and be healthy in the last 7.5, 8 months?
Yeah. So one of the biggest things to remember with cows, with especially like our sleeping beauties here behind me, cows like to be bored. So everything that we do, we make sure that we do it as close to the same every day as we can. So if feeding time is 5 o'clock in the morning, feeding time is 5 o'clock in the morning every day. And if it's Monday and they have their room cleaned, then it's Monday and they have their room cleaned. So everything we do is to try to be consistent and to try to be pretty accurate in what we do. If they need to receive a certain amount of food according to our nutritionist, then that's the amount that they receive. And we always try to keep them dry and clean and
Yeah.
keep it simple. It's nothing really exotic. It's just being consistent and
Mhm.
being precise.
Yeah, so cows like consistency and they like habits and just routine. And now you mentioned that you work with a nutritionist. Can you talk a little bit more about what a nutritionist does, maybe for your young stock and also for your milking cows? What exactly is their role and how they work with you to make that experience for the cows as delicious as possible?
Absolutely. So we all know that one of cow's superpowers is being able to turn native, whether it's native grasses or other crops that grow here locally, into milk or into growth for these younger animals. So we rely on our nutritionist to take samples of like the hay and the corn that we grow here locally and then compare that to what Gal and Wrecking Ball or their moms have for nutritional requirements to ensure that they stay healthy and they grow efficiently and produce milk. And then that nutritionist helps us out with, all right, so these are the things we grow locally. These are
Mhm.
the byproduct things. For example, we feed byproducts of beer making. We feed byproducts of cheese
Cool.
making, yogurt making. So cows are pretty cool recyclers, but we need to know exactly how to combine those things. And also because cows I don't know about you or anybody else, but say hypothetically speaking, someone placed a pile of broccoli and a number of brownies in front of me, I might not eat the broccoli first.
Right.
So we have to try to outsmart them and combine all those things in a total mixed ration so they can't eat out the brownies and need to enjoy that
Aha.
broccoli as well.
I think I probably would do the same thing, Farmer Betsy, but that makes sense. So that nutritionist really helps us make sure they're getting all of that good nutrition, all of the sweet things, all the good things. And you mentioned that byproduct. That is really cool. That they are able to eat something that would have otherwise been waste from our food chain. So that's really neat that they're able to take our waste product and enjoy it and turn it into energy. And of course, our milk cows turning it into milk. I think that the ultimate upcyclers. That's really a cool story that cows get to get to do for us. And if anyone saw the Sunday Funday email that went out yesterday, we actually shared a little bit more information on that and how we like to call our cows superheroes because they can do some pretty cool things like turning waste and byproducts into energy. So awesome. Thank
Absolutely.
you, Farmer Betsy. Now, so for these girls, I know we've been getting a number of questions here. And looking at some things. So we are going to go ahead and jump into some of those questions that some of our classes have. One question that came through was they were asking, how long does a cow usually live for? So what's the average age on your dairy herd?
Yeah, the average age on our herd is almost 5 years old. Like our oldest cows are in their teens, but I think our average age is around 5.
So about 5 years old. So what does that mean? How long or how many calves have they had typically by that point in their life on your farm?
Right? So if we think about them having that first calf when they're approximately 2 years old,
Mhm.
and then they have another calf each year. So those guys are into their third, fourth calves. Some of them are super efficient and maybe they decided to have twins at some point along the way or something
Mhm.
exciting like that. But
Wow. So it's pretty normal. So then, based off what you just shared with us, it's pretty normal for a cow to have one calf a year after once they've had their first calf at 2 years old. Does that sound correct?
yes. Yep.
Okay. So they have about one calf a year. And you mentioned twins. Have you guys at Brigeen Farms ever had twins or even triplets before?
We have twins occasionally and we have had triplets. I can only think of about 2 sets of triplets in the 20 some odd years that we've been back here full
Wow.
time.
But still, so twins are happen every now and then, but still not as common as just one good healthy baby every year. So now you mentioned they have their first calf at 2 years old. So is that when Gal and Wrecking Ball will have their first calf at 2 years old?
Yes. Yep, that's the plan for them.
Okay, so for now, they just get to enjoy being adolescents, as you said. And is this what they do all day? Just hang out like this? Is this pretty normal for them?
Pretty much. This is their lives because like I said, feeding time was a while ago, so they've had their morning feeding and then they'll, you know, sleep for a long period of time and then they'll have more food and sleep again and some more food
Wow.
again. So it's pretty, like I said, though, they're definitely creatures of habit. When we change something, they give us kind of a side eye sort of thing that they were perfectly happy how they were. And I don't know about
Right.
this growing up and going to bigger groups or different barns on the farm, how they love that, but they're pretty good at adjusting too.
Gotcha. Now we're looking at these girls right now, and you mentioned that they kind of just go back and forth between eating and hanging out, eating and hanging out. Right now, they kind of look like they're chewing bubble gum. We're cutting their heads off a little bit, but I think there we go. I think it looks like they're chewing bubble gum. Can you explain what's happening right now? Because I don't think they're chewing bubble gum.
Yeah, although they would be willing to try it, I'm sure. So they are not currently chewing bubble gum. What they're doing, and the you would not, so for all of our listeners, you would not want cows as house guests or dinner guests. They're horribly messy eaters. So part of their superpowers is that they eat their food and they kind of just swallow it. And then they do such a incomplete job that first time that they spend the rest of the day chewing it again. And that's that chewing it again process, and they're adding more saliva to it. That's how they can eat things like leftovers from beer making or whey or really high fiber hay. Like if we looked at the when we have a minute, we'll look at the hay that they eat, and you can see that it's really
Mhm.
pretty pretty coarse. Like it looks very much like sticks, and they can eat that, and they can turn it into growth, and they can turn it into milk because they rechew it for the rest of the day.
Wow. Oh my goodness. That is really cool. So they're just working on digesting all of their food. Now, speaking of that food, awesome. I was hoping they could get a visual.
Ta-da! Yeah.
So that's the hay that they munch on all day.
Yep. Yep. So this is not looking like those tender mixed greens that you might grab at the grocery store. This is definitely a lot more fiber. And because they have those superpowers of chewing it again and a giant
Hmm.
fermentation vat right on board, that they can
Hmm.
turn this pretty dry, pretty sticky kind of stuff into growth. Obviously, these guys are doing a great job of using it for growth, and
Hmm.
our mature animals are turning it into milk.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a question from Miss Haley Rowe. They were wondering, do you know how many pounds of food they eat a day between that hay and maybe green or TMR or anything that they're eating right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. So if we think about our grown-up cows,
Hmm.
those cows are eating somewhere in the 130 pounds, 140 pounds a day, washing it down with a bathtub of water. And then these younger animals are probably more in that 40, 45 pounds, depending on
Wow.
what all they're eating.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. I can't even imagine eating that much food. They are definitely much bigger than we are. 40 to 45 pounds of food. That's a lot of food. Let's see. We had some other good questions coming in. This one's from Mr. D, and they were wondering how heavy is a full grown cow? So when they're considered full grown, about how big do you think they are?
That's a great question. So our biggest cows are almost weigh almost a ton.
2,000 pounds. Holy
Absolutely.
moly. That is very heavy. Now, how did I mean that's a lot of weight in one animal. How do you as a farmer work around animals of that size and just, for your safety, for the cow safety? How does that work for you as a farmer? Because that's a pretty big animal.
Yeah, and that's a great question. So we have a number of things, both that consistency when the cows know that, okay, it's 5 o'clock and it's time for eating, then that's what needs to happen because that's what their routines are all designed around. When we
Hmm.
design the barns that the cows live in, we
Hmm.
make sure that they're designed in a size that it keeps the cows comfortable, so there are no opportunities for injury there, and we have
Hmm.
lots of safe passageways and have lots of gates that are easy to open and close,
Hmm.
hopefully, that the people working with the cows can
Yeah.
have lots of space around them. And
Yeah.
a lot of we do a lot of training, and we do a lot of work around just being quiet and
Hmm.
being consistent around the cows. Cows don't like to be surprised. People don't like to be surprised. So as long
Right.
as our routines and our facilities make sure that that's the case, most cows are pretty chill.
Awesome. So any chance we're able to go into the pen with them, maybe get a little bit closer? Is that an option for the last couple of
Absolutely.
minutes here together?
That's assuming that I can open the gate. When I said that there are gates that open easily.
Right. Well, as you're
There
working
we
on
go.
that, I know Miss Hubert, she must have been she's looking at some of those early pictures we have of our lovely ladies. And she had noticed that there were little like paint marks on their forehead. Can you just talk through like what that was for?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's part of the consistency and routines as well. When newborn calves arrive, their mothers have produced colostrum, which is really concentrated with immune factors and fat and protein and energy. And it's really important that those little guys get a feeding of that really soon. And so, in order to better communicate with somebody that's taking care of calves at midnight and somebody that's taking care of calves at 6 o'clock in the morning, we put a mark on them as soon as they've had that really important first feeding. So everybody knows with one glance at them that, okay, she's had exactly what she needs, and I can
Mhm.
go on and prepare breakfast for the rest of the gang.
Gotcha. So since I mean there's a lot of animals, so like we've discussed that you guys all are taken care of. So it's just a way of that your team communicates to make sure that they're getting what they need early on in life. Cool. Awesome.
Absolutely.
Let's see. We've got some other questions coming in. This one is from Mr. Dennett. So they were wondering, will Gal or Wrecking Ball or all of them ever get to go out to pasture, or what, or are they living in a comfy barn like this all the time, or what does that experience look for them and look like for them in the coming months?
Yeah, in the summer there are some of the animals that will go outside on pasture. Some special pets like these two probably will go out on pasture a bit, and some of our older heifers that would be, kind of 6 months older than these guys would have an
Hmm.
opportunity to go out on pasture.
Hmm.
Back to the consistency thing though. Cows like to be bored. Holstein cows aren't particularly good at cooling themselves, and they don't, can't just sit by the air conditioner during the day. So we
Hmm.
have a large number of fans in all of our barns. So we want to keep them cool. We want to keep them comfortable, and they
Hmm.
have that free choice water so they can drink their bathtub full of water and probably a little bit more on a hot day, and they can stand under the fans and keep cool, because cows would be thrilled if it was about 60 degrees every day and more than that, and they're not terribly excited by that. So we can
So they
try to
like
keep
those
the
cooler
flies off them
temperatures.
and keep
Hmm.
them cool, and try to keep every day pretty much the same. Keep it
Yeah.
boring for them, and we can do that in the barns that we have.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know our one adopted calf here stood up. She is almost as tall as you, Farmer Betsy. That's amazing. Because,
She is, and she is tall. I am not tall. Again, I am not tall, but she is actually quite tall. And clearly
aw.
these two are close enough that her friend Wrecking Ball doesn't feel compelled to. Oh no, there she goes.
They're like,
Just,
man, I was chilling. But hey,
I
ladies,
know it
we've
was.
got some friends who would love to see you a little closer. So hopefully they can interrupt their
It
nap
was
for a couple
nap time,
minutes.
right, ladies?
So while we're bringing them front here, hi girls. Oh my goodness, look how cute they are. While we bring them front here, we had a question from Miss J's class. They're wondering how much milk does a cow usually produce in a day?
Your timing is fantastic, because once a month we have an official measurement of how much milk our
Ah,
cows are giving, and we had that last week. So our cows on average are producing 100 pounds per cow per day. So if we think about what, almost 9 pounds a gallon of that
yeah.
gallon of milk that you pick up at the grocery store, those guys are,
Hmm.
11, almost 12 gallons
Wow.
of milk every day.
Holy moly. So for our classes who have about, 11, 12 students in a class, that's 1 gallon per student per day. Everyone could take a
Yeah,
gallon of milk home every day with what you, but from one cow. That is amazing. And you guys are milking almost around 500 cows. So now when you
correct.
guys when that milk is produced, then it goes into the bulk tank and it's stored. I know it gets picked up. But what's the next step then? So that milk is picked up and it goes where?
We belong to the Dairy Farmers of America Cooperative, so our milk really doesn't travel very far. It travels to Portland, which is, I'm not sure whether it's 40 miles as the crow flies, but that milk is in a cow at 6 o'clock in the morning, and it's headed to the plant by 9 o'clock that morning and
Wow.
turning into delicious chocolate milk, or plain milk, or any number of exciting things. And now Gal and Wrecking Ball have seen a cat, so they're distracted, which is fine.
Oh my goodness. Wow. So that's a very quick turnaround time. That it is turning into some things that we love to eat every day and then getting on those shelves at the grocery store for us to enjoy. That is an amazingly fast experience, but it makes sense, right? Milk has a relatively short shelf life, so we got to keep that milk moving as quickly as possible. And we can tell that they really love you, Farmer Betsy, because they were giving you lots of love while you were in the pen with them.
They have very big personalities.
Let's see. I'm gonna try and get through a question or two here yet. We had a good question from Miss Hamilton. They're wondering, how long do Gal and Wrecking Ball spend sleeping per day?
So scientists that are way smarter than I am have actually spent a lot of time studying cow behavior, and they tell us that cows that are super comfortable and bored will spend somewhere in the 12 to 13 hours a day sleeping, resting, and we want them to do that because when they're resting like that, they do exactly what you pointed out earlier, Brittany, not chewing
Mhm.
bubblegum, but chewing their cud and making sure that those foodstuffs that they are doing that recycling and upcycling on have the opportunity to turn into milk and
Yeah.
growth. So,
Wow. That's a lot. I wish I could sleep that much in one day. It sounds like
you know,
a very relaxing life.
it does. It does.
Oh man. Let's see, we've got some other questions coming in. Oh, this one's specifically about the ice cream you all produce. So for anyone that doesn't know, Brigeen Farms does have a creamery. And they were curious what kind of ice cream flavors you guys put out there.
We do a number of different flavors. We're taking a little bit of a break through the winter season on the ice cream as we get through some spring building projects, but we have everything from grape nut, which is kind of a traditional Maine sort of flavor. We have
Okay.
a chocolate that's actually named after one of Gal's family members. We have
Oh,
strawberry that's named after one of Rhonda's incredible strawberry that's named after one of Wrecking Ball's family members.
oh,
Um, so we
very
are
cool.
try to be creative with our
Yeah,
flavors.
I love that. Very cool. We had a good question come in from Miss McDade. They're wondering, how do you know as a farmer when a calf or a cow is sick and not feeling well? And what do you do as a farmer to help take care of them in that time?
Yeah, that's a great question because that's a big part of our job as
Hmm.
farmers and as caretakers for these animals. So animals that are older than Gal and Wrecking Ball all have something that resembles a Fitbit pretty closely. So
Oh,
it's measuring, there's a microphone in it that's measuring all that chewing that we saw earlier.
hmm.
So every day we have measurements of how many minutes they're spending chewing. And think about if you have the flu or something, you're probably
Hmm.
not going to eat as much. Cows are the same. So we have all those pieces of data like that, how active they are. We keep track of those things on the computer, and of course there's an app for it because there's an app for everything. The younger animals, I mean, we rely on observation, and that's
Hmm.
another reason why that consistency and that routine is so important. If it's feeding time and everybody is excited about eating, then chances are pretty good that they're feeling really well. If there's somebody in a pen, if one of Gal or Wrecking Ball's neighbors isn't super excited about breakfast, then that's a place to start with what else is going on with them. Are they, do their eyes look yucky or are they coughing or anything like that? We have a
Hmm.
veterinarian, several veterinarians actually that we work with on a regular basis, and they give us great advice on if there's anything that we need to be aware of for new diseases or what we need to be doing for vaccinations, and work with our nutritionist about how we should be feeding again for best health,
Yeah,
and making sure that we're preventing anything from happening, because
right.
that's really our goal, is to prevent, and then if we need to respond, to work with our veterinarians and the best information that we have to make it a
Mhm.
quick recovery.
Yeah, absolutely. So, like you mentioned, that routine plays such a big part beyond just having a routine for yourself. It's really for the benefit of those cows and to make sure that they are getting the best care possible. And I think it's so cool that you can use technology like a Fitbit to help manage your older cows and just really know, I mean, kind of like watching their steps, and it's just you're watching their rumination and what they're eating, and using that to help you maintain the health of all 500 milking cows, because that is a lot of cows to keep an eye on. So I'm sure that helps give you kind of that bird's eye view of every single cow, and making sure that each one is looking normal and looking good. And I just to confirm, both are lovely adopted calves. They're both doing great, right? They both look pretty happy and healthy.
They absolutely are. Yes, they're
I love
definitely.
that. Awesome. And I see that they're coming up for a snack here, which has been nice to see them give us a little show of what their mealtime looks like, I guess. I'm going to wrap up with one of the final questions here. You mentioned a little bit that they get those that they got like the Fitbit that they have, but we were wondering why they have those numbers in their ears currently. And so what's that for, and what does it feel like for a cow to get one of those ear tags?
Yeah. So each animal on the farm has their own unique number, and there's two numbers. There's the bigger number you can see, 4766, and that's the one that
Mhm.
people that even have bad eyesight like mine can see from a distance. So if we needed to know, oh well, there's one that I need to do something with, that's, or maybe she's not feeling well, or maybe she decided to do something silly today. Then there are smaller numbers on there, and then there's a round ear tag as well.
Hmm.
The round ear tag is a radio frequency ID. So if Gal or Wrecking
Mm.
Ball wanted to go out of state for some reason, that's an identification number that veterinarians in the state that they're going to need to know, and need to know that they're coming for a visit and have followed all the things that they need to follow to do that safely for them and for the animals in the state they're
Cool.
going to. Gal and Wrecking Ball are also registered with the Holstein Association of the USA. So we track their mom and their dad back for generations. Brigeen Farms
Hmm.
has been a member of the Holstein Association for over 80 years. So we have lots of information about all the generations
Yeah.
on these guys, and it's a big part of what we do as well.
I bet that's fun. 'Cause I know there's plenty of people who like following their own heritage and figuring out what their own background is, and like my grandparents came from here or anything like that. So that's got to be cool to be able to do the same thing for your cows. And that's with the help of those ear tags and registering the animals to be able to know that history. That's a
Absolutely.
really neat thing you're able to do. Farmer Betsy, we've had a lot of fun spending time with you today. And of course, getting to see our adorable calves. This has been a lot of fun. I'm going to wrap up with one final question. We've talked a lot about what you as a farmer do to make sure that your heifers and your whole herd is healthy and safe. And I'm sure your day starts early and ends late. And we're getting into harvest season here in the spring. So I'm sure your schedules are busy, crazy. Um, it sounds like a lot of work, but I'm sure it's rewarding. I would just love to know what your why is behind continuing the dairy farm for now the 10th generation. What's your why behind being a dairy farm?
Yeah, so I think that our why is simple in that we really enjoy having the ability to take that baby calf and know that the work that we do every day is makes it possible for those animals to grow and thrive, and
Hmm.
that recycling that these cows do, the upcycling, the ability to turn local resources into high quality local food, that's a pretty cool process, and a pretty big
Hmm.
responsibility to know that we're providing food for our neighbors and
Yeah,
and some folks that are a little further away than neighbors. So
yeah.
that's something that we feel pretty strongly about
Yeah,
continuing.
well, we are certainly thankful for your passion to want to provide for your community a very nutritious, very healthy, very safe product that is really important for our own diets, to make sure we are growing big and strong. So thank you so much for just being an incredible farmer, having such great care for your cows, of course, for our adopted calves. We're excited to hopefully in the future see them grow up nice, big, and strong and join that milking herd in a couple of years. And just we're very thankful for everything you do as a farm. being a dairy farmer, right, is not just taking care of cows, but you are taking care of your land. You're taking care of the waterways that run around your farm. You're taking care of the community by providing a product and just being an active member of the community. So thank you so much for everything you do. And I know everyone is, lots of thank yous are coming through on the chat. So everyone agrees. We're very thankful for you being a host farm. It's for this year and for the past couple of years here. We've loved getting to know you more and all of your adorable calves. And for everyone that's listening and watching today, I just want you to remember that you now know a dairy farmer, right? You've met Farmer Betsy. You've gotten a chance to follow her farm all year. So if you ever have any questions or, want to learn more, that's what we're here for. You now know a real dairy farmer, and you know the Discover Dairy program. Reach out to us, ask your questions. We want you to feel informed so you're making a good decision when you're in the grocery store. So we are here in any chance, in any way we can help. And Farmer Betsy, do you have anything else you want to share with us before we tune off today?
Just to say thank you. This has been a great process. We love hearing the questions, and just as you said, I and the rest of my family really enjoy being in the position of being able to answer those questions and
Mhm.
just ask. There's
Yeah,
no such thing as a silly question, and we'd love to tell you more about Wrecking Ball and Gal and the other 500 or some odd of
right.
their moms and aunts and all that good stuff. So thanks again for the opportunity, and thanks for the great questions.
Awesome. Yes, thank you. Thank you so much. And remember, registration opens this Wednesday. We're excited to have you back. You can gladly just log in and re-enroll, or if you're new to the program, go ahead and create an account and then get started. We are excited to have you all starting in October next year for the new program, but in the meantime, we hope you have a fabulous summer. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.